What's up, guys? Welcome to the talk. That's right. We're doing something brand new today. We are going to do a brand new podcast called The Talk for Daddy Leagues. And kind of the idea behind all of this is to do something that is kind of fresh and new, an opportunity to kind of talk to different commissioners, different CFM leaders about Madden 18, what was, what could have been, Madden 19, what could be, what is kind of on the horizon, and just some good old-fashioned commissioner talking. My very first guest today, Mr. Pootie T, the man, the commissioner of the NBC, man. Welcome to the talk here on a bright and early Friday. How you doing, man?
Good morning, man. Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's it's Good Friday. The kids are out of school. We're off, so lots of fun stuff that's going to be happening. So let's just jump right into it. I know that you've been on the show before when we used to do the CFM roundtable. So tell people who you are. Tell people about the NBC. Kind of fill us in a little bit.
Well, I've been running NBC since Madden 12. We run year-round. We've gotten, I don't know, 65, 70 seasons in that period of time. We move pretty fast. It's just a sim league, and we keep everything fair for everyone as best we can, to let everyone have a good time and, just enjoy meeting other people from other places and talking to them and finding out about them as well as playing, a football game. So,
how do you get guys to keep up with that kind of pace? You guys are like advancing every other day.
Well, we have a system that we have kind of formulated over the years to find a way to help people set their games up sooner instead of waiting until a half a day after advance to notify someone. We make it to where they have to notify them before the advance and get in touch, and that way there's not time. A lot of times they'll miss opportunities that they could have played when their two schedules could have matched up sooner had they talked sooner. So our system is actually set up to where they have to communicate before each advance. We know about a full day before each advance what time we will advance. So that helps keeps everyone on their toes, keeps everyone moving, communicating, and communication is just the biggest thing. If you can communicate with someone, sooner, then you can figure out times and you can work out things a little sooner. So it really helped keep things moving along that way.
What are the kind of the pros and the cons of doing it that way? I mean, you guys do get a lot of seasons in, but what are the pros and cons of having that quick advance schedule?
Well, I guess the pro would be no one has to ever feel like they're going to get bored. Years ago we used to have the problem, and this is why we actually implemented this was, like I said, people would wait a full day after we had advanced to even contact someone the first time, and then it would take them 12 hours to respond, and then it's almost 2 days have gone before they even did anything. Well, over half the leagues already played their games, so then these guys are getting bored waiting 2 more days for someone to get their game in. So this kind of, it gives them the incentive. Either you contact before advance, or if you can't get your game in before the last game is set, then you might get sent. So it gives them a reason to stay on their toes and keep up with it because, over doing this for 7 years, I found that if you don't do that with people, some people will tend to get very lazy about it, and then the league starts dragging. We've seen active owners get bored and leave because it's just like, well, what am I feel like I played my game at advance, and now I'm waiting for 3 days, and it's boring, because there's nothing else to do. So, the pro of it is it keeps everything moving. It keeps everything fresh and flowing. And the more seasons we can get in, the more you can build a team, or you can change a team. And you have time to see that fully realized what your plan was. Because we normally get in, I think, about 11 or 12 seasons per Madden. It takes us about, right now we're averaging 30 to 35 days a season.
It's crazy.
So, it goes along good. I guess the con of it is sometimes, people may end up getting simmed. But if they're staying on top of it, that's not a problem. And, if one person reaches out before advance and the other person doesn't, respond to them within 12 hours after advance, well, the person who didn't respond is taking the chance of a sim loss because they weren't keeping up with their communication ends, right? So we reward those who are communicating properly and early, and those who aren't are going to get punished, and that helps people from wanting to be slack, basically.
So you've been running the NBC for 7 years, and look, let's not beat around the bush. This Madden has been like one of the most divisive Maddens, and it started off on the wrong foot. Like we all kind of talked for months on end, building up to Madden 18. The complaints of no videos and not enough information and no CFMMation. We just kind of started off on the wrong foot when it comes to the CFM community with this game, and things progressively got worse, but we've seemed to have kind of hit an opportunity or a piece of the game, a season of the game where we figured it out. Like we've been able to make it work, and leagues seem to be kind of flowing now. Like they've kind of hit their stride. So, look, I know that you're not the biggest fan of the game. I am not the biggest fan of the game. I started out a fan, and then I about lost it right there in the middle, and then kind of gathered myself again. So talk about Madden 18. What have been the struggles? What have been the pros? What have been the cons when you come to your CFM, to owners, to league, to the game, to all of that stuff?
Well, I'll start with some of the pros that I can think of. I think the coaching adjustments, some of them we don't actually allow in our league because we play on all Madden, so the pass rush is already fairly good, so we don't really allow the aggressive pass rush. But that's also because we have a slider set up to where the computer players won't jump off sides, but it will call it on the people who use their D-line, so the offense can use fake snap as a tool against those guys who are really good at using the D-line. So we kind of have to try to balance that so we don't allow that. But, the allowing you to set your cornerback matchups with wide receivers based on depth chart or speed or things like that, that's pretty nice. It could be a little better if you were actually allowed to set exact persons against exact persons, but this is still, for right now, that was better than nothing.
Better than nothing, yeah.
So that was pretty nice. Being able to tell your cornerbacks to play the ball or play the receiver, or those things have been pretty nice additions. It does seem blocking is a little better at times. There's still a lot of flukiness that goes on and things that just make you scratch your head when you have guys run right by defenders who they should block, and they just pass them like they didn't even see them there.
Yeah.
And then get tackled in the backfield. So there's still quite a bit of that. But the graphics look better because of Frostbite. But outside of that, I didn't really see where Frostbite was used a lot besides graphics. I mean, the physics still are pretty lacking. The spins and the jukes are still two of my biggest pet peeves of this Madden. To me, it's just kind of ridiculous. I get it. You want to be able to make moves and stuff like that. But, when they told us, tributes are going to matter in mode, that's not panned out. I've posted numerous articles and stuff from our league where wide receivers with 90 plus catch, 90 plus catch in traffic had twice as many drops as guys with 80 catch in 80 catch in traffic, and they had the same amount of catches, but the guys with the higher ratings had a lot more drops.
Yeah.
And then you got the things with the spins. You can take just about any player. It doesn't matter if he's got 70 spin or if he's got 90 spin or 99 spin. If he does a spin move and the guy's trying to tackle him, 7 times out of 10, the dude's flying off into space.
Yeah.
And, it's just really annoying because it allows for things to happen. I know it's a video game. They're trying to make it look cool, but it's not cool when you're trying to play simulation football.
Yeah.
If you're playing on defense, you're that defender's awareness because you're the user. And if you figure the guy's going to juke to the right and you move your stick to tackle to the right, and he jukes to the right, you should tackle him.
Yeah.
That's plain and simple. It's just no, he might break a tackle. Okay, that's fine. But your defender should at least contact the guy.
Yeah.
In that direction and not just go flying into space or stumble looking like he's drunk, Yeah. The animations are they're horrible, and it's too much forcing. I feel it's just too much forcing going on there that it's just not realistic. Now, if you had a guy that had 99 spin, I could see him doing it to people more often than guys in the lower, but that's not been the case. And it's just too overdone. Like, sadly, a lot of things that happens in Madden when they add something in,
it's overpowered.
And so, that's I have a post on my Twitter that I still have pinned because I thought this will happen after the Super Bowl. I feel like they're going to add RPOs this year, and I'm willing to bet it'll be overpowered, just like option plays were when they were added. Just like the aggressive catch was when it was added. Just so it makes you kind of worry, like, what are they going to add new this year, and what are we going to have to try to overcome and try to make rules to get around so that it's not hurting the gameplay in the leagues. So
you mentioned something that I want to kind of dig out a little bit, because I find that so many leagues are finding like really different stuff. Like, there are a lot of great podcasts out there, like Madden Bomber League, and oh man, I can't think of the the PlayStation one that puts out a lot of content all of a sudden. Look, it's bright and early. All right, sorry.
The Dynasty, that's what it is.
The Dynasty. That's right. Yeah, like, they're putting out a lot of great stuff. I know they're starting a new podcast. Maybe it was already started with PX1 this week. So, like, a lot of guys are putting out a lot of good stuff. There's been a lot of great interviews with Rex and other guys, and so that's not what this is. I'm just trying to give commissioners an opportunity. It's what the CFM Roundtable is supposed to be, and we're just trying to reboot that to just talk about their leagues and their experiences, because that's where I'm kind of going with this, is that so many leagues have so many different experiences. Just like, even in our community, you play in our community, and we're lucky enough to have you and your guys in our community, and even guys that play in both of our leagues have like vastly major different experiences. And the one that I want to kind of let you dig out a little bit is the run blocking. And I hear PX1 and I had some great conversations before he hung it up or semi-hung it up. I don't really know if he's retired or not. I don't know. I don't really talk to the guy much anymore because he retired and disappeared, but now he's back and whatever. He loved the run blocking. You mentioned the run blocking being better. I'm going to be honest, in our league, our run blocking is at like 95, and it's still unbelievably stupid. Instant shed blocks, hitting in the backfield. I experienced the magnet issue where your running backs are just sucked into old lineman's butt and can't move.
Yes.
I still have major problems with the running game. So talk about it in your league. I know sliders are all different and have great effects, but dang, man, I got it on 95 on All Pro. There should be massive holes, and we're not seeing it.
Well, it's one of those things. Like, in our league, a couple of the years we've had some guys with high rushing totals for the season, right? Like over about 2,000 yards. But that was mainly because of the thing I just mentioned with the jukes and the spins. You juke and spin two different defenders, and you're going for 80 yards.
Yeah,
simple. It's easy. So that kind of has inflated some of the numbers there. And I really, honestly, I still feel it boils down to some plays work better than others, and that's another problem that Madden's had forever. It's not really about your play calling of, well, I call this play against this defense, so it should beat it. No, not really what it is. It's just, you can call this play against most defenses, and you're going to pick up a good amount of yards. Like the off tackle from the strong set is one of them that I know I've seen guys like to run numerous times because, and I've even had a guy tell me he run it because he knew it worked. He knew it was a good play. But and it goes to show that there's just some plays that are designed to where the guys will do what they're supposed to do, right? And then there's others they're not. And then I don't know. I feel like it's a little better than last year, but I don't necessarily. I'm not happy with where blocking is for running or passing, for that matter. I still see numerous things where I'm just sitting there scratching my head when I look at the replay of it, and I'll go back and look at the stream where we had played. If I'm looking at one of my games, and I'm like, how did this guy get tackled 4 yards in the backfield, and he only rushed 4? How is my quarterback getting sacked within 1.5 seconds of snap, and he only rushed 3?
Yeah,
I got 5 guys blocking, and and on my team, my guys all have close to 90 pass rush blocking, and my dude's still getting sacked with 3-man rushes, and they're not, the guys on defense aren't setting up some nano blitz. It's just crazy, you know. So there's still plenty of issues there. And like the thing you're talking about with the suction into the offensive lineman, that still drives me insane.
Yeah.
Still to this day, yeah, I remember 2 bands ago they talked about the running back's going to start putting his hand out and pushing off. I've still yet to see that.
Yeah.
I still don't see it. It's not in the game, so don't tell me it's in the game when it's not.
It's very hard to hit a small hole. Like if it's a massive hole, you can hit it, but if there's like a little gap, like you're gonna see in the NFL, right? It's very hard to maneuver. I mean, look, very very skilled guys can do it, but it's more miss than hit on those types of plays.
Yeah, and the thing you talk about the instant share, that's one thing, you know, and I think it may have something to do with hitting turbo in those areas. I know that I've heard the Rex and them talk about that. And maybe that's the case, but that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be just because you touch the turbo button to shoot through a gap, because that's what you would do as a running back. If you see that gap and you want to get through it quickly, you're going to accelerate quickly. So just because you do that, your offensive lineman should not let go of his block and let the guy just smash you. You know, so things like that definitely need to be tightened up quite a bit. And you know, it's one of the things that I sometimes I don't understand why the devs don't get this. You know, Madden has a bad name for a reason because of things that EA has done over the years. You've got to stop telling people that this is in the game and that this is fixed, and it's not. Just don't lie about it. Just be honest. If you can't fix it or you can't get it in, just say, look, we tried, we couldn't get this. You know, this is still like this. Just be honest. I mean, you can get a lot farther with your customers if you're honest than you can if you try to puff things up, and then when they get their hands on it, they say that's not what it is. You know. So I'm still looking for the running backs pushing off of these guys and not getting sucked into it. Once you get sucked into it, you almost cannot get your running back off of that lineman until someone tackles.
And it doesn't matter what you do. Like you can let go of the controller, you can push backwards, like your guy is stuck there. So 2 things that we're seeing in our league that I'd love to hear if you've seen the NBC. Number one, high-rated offensive linemen no one wants. They're trading them away. They're not signing them because it doesn't matter if you have a 99 overall guy with 99 everything, or if you have like an 80s overall guy that is way cheaper that have 80s. They block exactly the same. And then the other thing is the instant shed user defensive lineman. It drives me absolutely insane. If you user a defensive lineman, I don't care if he's 69 overall or 99 overall. If you time it just right, you are in the backfield in half a second. It's like become, even though we have rules around it and we try to govern it, like we still have guys that know if they need a sack, if they need to stop a 3rd and 1, just use their defensive lineman, time it right, and you're in the backfield. It's a stop play. Are you guys seeing those 2 things in the NBC?
Well, I think people still kind of value the higher offensive lineman, but I think it's more of a placebo effect than it is anything, to be honest. Because we've seen guys with not great offensive linemen lead the league in rushing.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to the thing of don't tell me attributes matter. When I have all these other things that I can point to and say, how do these things happen consistently?
Yeah.
It really matter that much. You know, you can have a running back. It doesn't matter what his skill is, as long as he's fast, you can torch the league still. Wide receiver, same thing. It doesn't matter how good of a catching he has. If he's fast, he can torch the league all day long. And some people say, well, yeah, but speed matters in the NFL. It does, but, you know, Devin Hester wasn't a wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was super fast, but he couldn't make it as a wide receiver. Why? Because he couldn't catch the ball. He could return punts all day long.
Yeah.
But when it came to catching the ball in traffic, he wasn't good at it. You can't just say because the dude's fast, he should be able to, you know, just run all over people. That's not how it works in the NFL. Sure, speed helps, but you also still got to have skill along with that. You know, Antonio Brown's fast, but he's also really good at catching the ball and really good at getting himself open and really good at, you know, catching the ball in traffic. And, you know, there's so many things like go into play that I think they have a hard time programming into the game. And I still feel speed is the number 1 attribute in Madden. You know, so it doesn't feel like anything's really changed. You know,
I think it's less king, but it still matters, right? Like it's still, it's not like it used to be in, you know, 07, 08, 09, you know, like those types of games where it was just stupid. Like you could have a 55 overall player, but it still does really, really matter. I think where I see the most difference is like at linebacker. It doesn't matter as much at linebacker. And we actually are seeing the opposite thing in the OMFL, that slower, bigger backs can be just as productive as fast backs. But wide receiver, it's still a problem, right? Like really fast wide receivers are still burning the league. The only thing I think is a little bit of a tweak is like a 92 speed receiver can be just as good as a 98 speed receiver. Like we don't have those, because we do have a few like 97, 98 speed guys that aren't just like torching the league. What about user defensive line? Is that an issue in the NBC? Are you seeing a lot of guys that use that instant shed in the back automatically?
Well, some guys definitely have learned to use it, and I it is in some ways a little bit of a problem, but I think where we have our settings set up for what it is it's the penalty slider for offsides. We have it turned down to 5. So we have found over the years by doing that, the offensive team can fake snap 10 times, and the computer players on defense will not jump offsides. They just won't. But, again, the reason we do that is to give the offense a way to throw off that guy who is gotten so good at timing the snap, he gets that instant shed, right? So we do that to give the offense a tool against that.
Mm-hmm.
So where we played, we're starting our 7th season today, actually, for this Madden. And so most guys have played enough, the other guys enough this year that they know the guys who use the D-line all the time, or most of the time. So they've gotten used to that. So now they're getting more used to using the tool of fake snapping.
Mm-hmm.
But, we also have it set up to where you can't just fake snap 10 times because your offensive line is going to jump false start, So it's still a balance there, but it still gives the offense a tool to defend against those guys who are really good at that. And I think that's helped cut that down some. They're not able to get an instant sack because they just shed off the guy, or they're not in the backfield as soon as you hand the ball off. I mean, they are occasionally, but, if you're using that fake snap tool, you don't have to use it every play. You just use it here and there, and it's enough to keep that guy thrown off enough to where he's not comfortable trying to get that snap every time. So I think that has helped in that issue. So and that's one of the reasons why we've done that for the last, I think, since Madden 16. I think we found that slider setting for that penalty that has done that to where the computer guys won't jump off sides on defense.
Yep.
But that's also why we banned the aggressive pass rush, because then they would.
Us too.
So that again, it's just one of those things you have to find all the balances of stuff that we're given. So
now talk about. I just lost it. Like it was right there, and I lost. Oh, sliders. Like so for us, we usually spend a week or two the first season really like tweaking, and like we kind of know where to start, and then we kind of tweak that first season, and usually after the first season we're ready to go. We're set for all of Madden. But this Madden, man, it took 3-4 seasons, and honestly, just for me, I've been doing this for 19 years. I about threw in the red flag several times, and you're like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm done. The sliders were a real challenge for us. I know that you guys have went all pro, all Madden, back and forth. I love the way all Madden plays in this game. I think it plays a little more realistic. My issue with all Madden has been what you've said several times: is attributes matter 0. Like they almost matter 0 on all Madden, and that's just not a hump I can get over. Like I can't. We were all pro way, way, way back, like 01, 02, 03, 04. And then we went all Madden when we got into PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. And then this Madden and last Madden, we felt like they had fixed all pro. We could go back with some slider settings, of course, to make it a little bit tougher. I was a big fan of going all Madden this Madden because I tested it and just felt that it played better. And I just have a hard time. And I know that you're to complain of yours, but you guys felt like it was worth it. So that's what I want you to talk about, that attributes just don't matter on all Madden. Like everybody plays like a superstar on all Madden. Speed is like really king on all Madden. But like talk about slider settings and settings. What made it so difficult for the NBC? What made you what were the pros and cons of going all Madden over all pro, even with sliders?
Well, I think when we first started this year, I think we actually played on all Madden the first season, and our top passing offenses for the season teams only average like 150 yards passing because you couldn't get the ball in. And I understand, I know some people will be like, well, people complain that the defense didn't play good enough at launch, so they fixed it. Well, then they took it way too far, of course, which that's another whole discussion that we don't have time for. But so we played the first season on All Madden. Guys could not pass the ball. So we went back to All Pro for 2 or 3 seasons. And then it got to where guys were passing for, 5,000, 6,000 yards easily. We were like, all right, something's got to be done. We moved back to All Madden, and, and that's why I do the end of year stats that I post.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a record of these things so we can go back and look and say what needs to be adjusted here. And that's kind of what we've been doing over this Madden is going back and look at the end of year stats, seeing issue areas where things were higher than they should be, and then going back and adjusting the sliders. We used to really be big into adjusting sliders and testing them before launch. But Madden, I'm pretty sure it was Madden 16, really burned us so bad that we kind of quit doing it. When Madden 16 launched, we found a perfect slider for defensive pass interference. And I don't remember what the setting was. I just remember at launch, we had the slider fixed to where it wouldn't call it on the computer players on defense. They would never draw a defensive pass interference. But for the users, if you tried to attack the receiver or attack the ball too soon, you would draw a penalty every single time. And that's realistic. If a defender in real life is going after the ball or going after the receiver too early, they're going to hit the receiver before the ball gets there. They're drawing the flag. But then if you timed it right, things would work out and you wouldn't draw a penalty. So it was actually it made it timing based when you were using it on defense. And we loved that. And we thought that was awesome. And then the first patch after that came out. And ever since that, we could never get, we moved the slider 1 point, and it would never play like that again. And it kind of really soured a lot of our guys because we spent a lot of time working on this before we started the league up. Found a setting that was awesome because that's what we feel like it should be like. If you're on defense and you press that button too, it used to be you could just, and it still kind of is actually. If you have ball hawk on, which is why we don't allow it, you can just hold triangle, and then the guy would just magically be there on time and catch the ball or knock the ball down. So we wanted it to be user timing based. We don't care if the computer doesn't ever draw defensive pass interference. Because most of the time where the ball's going, someone's going to be using the DB once they see the ball going there. Mm-hmm. If you time it wrong, it should be defensive pass interference. So it was a great setting, and then the patch ruined it. And ever since then, our guy was just like, I don't feel like even doing it because by the time we find the setting that we want, they're going to patch it, and then it's going to change it.
Changes everything.
It's like you're constantly going through this working motion of trying to figure out another setting, and it's annoying because most guys in CFMs have families, they have full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. They're lucky to spend the hour to get the game in each week, or that they have to get in, and do the stuff that they're doing for their team. Building the players, practicing, scouting their opponents. There's a lot that goes into that, and most guys don't really feel like. I really feel like putting in extra time testing these sliders when it's just going to change in the next patch. So, it's been a work like that. So that's why this year we kind of went more the base of. Wait till the end of the season, pull all the stats, see where things look, and then if something looks off, go in and adjust the slider that we think might affect that, and then run another season and see how that plays out.
See how that works.
That's been easier for everyone, instead of because we were getting 20 guys in a fake league and just playing each other to test everything out, and everyone would post what they found or what they felt like it played. And stuff like that, and it's just a lot of work, And there's lots of guys out there that do stuff like that, that I'm glad that they do, and they post their sliders, and we kind of look at those things, and that's when we get our base to start off with, and then we just kind of go from there. So,
a lot of leagues will do that, right? They'll just test and we do that. Like we set up a test CFM so that we can test some new things and let guys like join it and just test it and see how it works, but. There's a lot of work that goes into that stuff, like hours upon hours, and then other people are doing it, and you're trying to combine all of these ideas. One thing I will say, look, Madden 18, definitely has its flaws. I think all games are going to have flaws. They're games, right? They can only do so much, and then once it launches, they find out what needs to be fixed. But and there's only so much time they can spend on that before they got to move on to the next thing, right? Because it's time to start worrying about the next game by the time that, probably way before that launches. So, look, I get it. I'm not a programmer, but I've been around enough programmers and software programmers that I understand how it works, right? The one thing I will say, as even though it is flawed, like, you got to give Madden credit that we do have sliders, right? We do have the ability for the NBC to be totally different from OMFL because we may view the game just slightly different, and you're able to customize your league to really fit what you want, what you envision. Look, it's not perfect, and I get that, and it's got its flaws, and there are many things that we can sit here and complain about, and if you don't know, go get on Twitter. It's so viral, and it just drives me insane sometimes, but we do have that customization, and I hope that never goes away, because I remember the days where there were no sliders, and it was like, this is the game, and you got to figure it out, right? I know that it's like the in vogue thing right now, and everybody does it, right, to start talking about wish list and what do you want to see in Madden 19. The fact is, what's in the game is going to be in the game. Very few things, if anything, are going to change, but if from what you've been hearing, right? And there are some like little rumors out there and some things that were kind of getting dropped, and there'll probably be more and more as we get into the summer. What are your anticipations for Madden 19? And even talk about, look, here's my disclaimer. I love you to death. You're like one of the coolest guys I've got to meet in the Madden community. You're my guy. I'm not grabbing my pitchfork. It's just my decision, right? And doing the whole ban Madden on launch day and buy it secondhand. I'm not doing it. And I get it though. So talk about that too, right? Like talk about your visions for 19. What are your kind of hopes from what you're hearing, right? And talk about your vision of why you think it would be important to ban the game and just kind of your concept behind that.
Well, I don't really know what to expect from Madden 19, and that just goes back to what I said earlier about, they say so many things each year, and then when the game comes out, we find out it's not what it is.
Sure.
And, after so many times of hearing that, you're just like, you know what? I've kind of had enough of this. And there's no sense in it. I mean, I get it. EA's a big corporation. They got all these stockholders. I'm a person of principle.
Yeah, I get it.
It's very important to me. I'm not going to tell a person I'm going to do something, and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say I've done this and I didn't do it, and it gets under my skin when people do that. So it doesn't matter if it's for profit or not. To me, it's just wrong. That's just where I stand on my own personal belief.
Let me insert this real quick, because I know you got a light there I want you to share. Do you have hopes, though, that with Frostbite, they now have had more time with Frostbite, that we will see possibly some improvements because of that?
Well, my hope is, because they're not gonna have the excuse of we just switched over to Frostbite this year.
Right.
I really hope that they involve real physics, and it has nothing to do with the made up physics thing that I read the patent about that EA recently did, where they're just trying to basically mimic physics without actually having a physics engine in the game. And there was some confusion about that at launch this year. Rex said there was Frostbite physics in the game, and then this other executive from EA said it wasn't. So no one still knows to this day what's the fact, but it didn't feel like there's any difference. But I really hope and pray that there's real physics in it. I want to see real weight and momentum. When you're talking about football, you're making a football game. That's a huge part of football. Physics, weight, momentum, speed, mixed with the weight against the guy that's hitting them. All these things should play effect. I would like to see gang tackling come back. That was in a few Maddens ago and not again, and that needs to be brought back. That's a real, and that even ties in with the physics, I think, because there's a lack of physics that just didn't play out like they wanted it to, so they kind of quietly removed it. The blocking, that needs to be improved, and I'm really hoping that it is. I understand it's a challenge for them, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of moving parts. But I really hope that they find a way that if there's a guy that's blocking or he's running upfield to block and he's seeing a defender coming at him, he attacks that defender and not just runs by him and lets him tackle the guy.
I want to kill my fullback 90% of the time.
Yes, yeah.
He's in the hole. Just hit him.
Yeah, he's right there in front of you, I really want to see the jukes and the spins fixed. Whether that's allowing the defenders, and I would like to see it to where whatever you do as the defender, as the user defender, if you're using the guy in whatever direction you tell him to go, that's what he does. And it plays out that way. I would like to see that happen. Another thing that I really hope gets fixed, and this is one of my other pet peeves of this Madden, and I've made some videos about it. I sent them to Clint earlier in the year. I still do not think computer defenders react correctly to quarterbacks who are running. I've seen this numerous times. The quarterback can be 4 or 5 yards past the line of scrimmage before a defender even acknowledges that he's running. He's already 4 or 5 yards past the line of scrimmage. So by the time that defender even turns towards him, he's almost got 10 yards. So guys can run with the quarterback all day long on your defense unless you use or someone close to him. But again, the other problem goes right back to the whole spin thing. I'll switch to a defender closest to the quarterback who's running in the wide open field. He don't have high spin or juke, but he can spin and juke my dude and send him to the moon, and he gets another 10 yards. It's ridiculous. I don't know why that was never really adjusted this year, but it's been a problem since launch. It's still a problem. I really hope that gets fixed because it's super annoying when you have to constantly have someone in spy, and even then, half the time he can't stop the quarterback from running. So these are some of the things that I really, really want to see get fixed as far as gameplay. And as far as CFM, there's just a whole list of so many things that, they have neglected this mode for so long. And there's so much that needs to be done for it, and 2 Maddens ago, they said that was the most resources ever. And, it was a focus on franchise, and it was a flop. I mean, that's just bottom line. I don't recall hearing anyone in the CFM community be like, man, they really did a lot for CFM this year.
Yeah.
They hyped it up really big, and that, again, it goes back to don't lie to us, man. Just be honest. I mean, maybe it was your most resources, but it didn't show that you used a lot of resources on it. The only thing that showed was you did a lot of UI changes, which is what you do every year, which is not – look, the UI could be better, sure. NBA Live, I really think, has really good user interface. Their graphics, everything is really clean. It looks good. I like it a lot. Having said that, I do not want to see them spending any time on user interface until they get more features in mode that work.
Do you worry, though, that because of the voice of the CFM community, which has been, look, I think it's right to say that overall that voice has been negative, right? I've tried to be as positive as I can be, and I just finally gave up because it was so just overwhelming negative. Do we worry, though, that we're going to get a show? Madden 19 is going to be like the show where you buy the game and then you find out, wait, there's no online franchise. They actually just were like, you know what, this is too big of a headache. We're just going to remove it completely. Is there a concern that might happen?
I don't think that it will because I feel like that they know there are a ton of people who only buy Madden to play on online leagues.
And that's it.
And I know some people say, well, somehow they're not making money off the $60, which is clearly not true. They want people to buy it because their main goal is to get you in MUT. And if you don't buy the game because you want to play CFM, there's no chance of you playing MUT. So I feel like they know that there are a large number of people who play in online leagues and also who play just CFM just offline. There's a ton of people that do that too, and they know that. And they want you to buy the game because they want you to come back. They want you to purchase it because as long as you purchase the game, then there's at least a chance that they can get you into playing MUT. So I don't really think that will happen with that. My biggest fear is I think they're going to try to monetize it. Maybe not this year, maybe next year.
Let's talk about that, because that rumor was floated, right, and that kind of came out, and you can hear my family's up and about now. In real life, I'm not a professional, so you guys are going to hear them in the background, but we're going to put a bow on it this next couple of minutes. So that came out, and I remember, so there's like a Discord for commissioners that Logan started, who totally MIA. I don't know what the heck happened to him. He's totally went MIA, but it was a great idea, but it's been dead for months. No one talks in there. But I remember early on, I knew this was going to happen too. Like we all get kind of life takes over, and all that like excitement for CFM kind of died down because we got bogged into our own leagues. But this subject came up, and my knee jerk was like, no. Like I pay And it is. Like, I pay a lot for this stupid game. Just give me what I paid for. Don't make me pay even more. But I've kind of lightened up on that. And if they gave you what you asked for, right? If they gave you that CFM experience that you want, with all the bells and the whistles and all of the things, or at least a majority of the things that commissioners want, what is that price point? Would you do that? Would it be worth $20, $19.99 to host your league, right? Or everybody's got to pay, $9.99 to be able to be part of an online league if those features came with it?
No, I would quit.
Yeah.
That's just, and again, it goes back to principle with me.
Sure.
EA makes hundreds of millions of dollars a year on this game, a year. For me, if that's not enough profit in there to slice out a small chunk to make CFM better, I don't believe that us paying them another $2 million is really going to do that for us. I don't believe that. I believe the people at the top will just take that extra money. I don't. They might pay their devs a little more, but at the end of the day, I don't see it really benefiting the community. And I know some people think that it will, but I'm looking at EA's track record here. They're making $800 million off of Ultimate Team a year.
Yeah.
So if you're making that much a year and you still can't afford to make CFM better, I'm not willing to pay that extra, the 60 and then pay an extra 10 or 15, just so they can, supposedly have enough money to make it better, because to me that's a lie. So again, that goes into my whole distaste for greed. And I just have to take a stand on principle on that and say, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that, because the other problem that I know would happen is they wouldn't even start it off that high. They would start off $5.99 or $8.99. And then what will happen is the executives at the top will see, well, we made an extra $3 million this year. Well, next year our company needs to make more. So what do? They'll raise the price again. And that price will just keep getting raised in increments every 2-4 years. So you might start off paying $5, and then you're going to end up paying $20 later on down the road. But then, would you really see that much difference in what we're getting in CFM? Because again, they've only got a year, and I feel like it'll always fall. I feel like they'll always fall back to that, no matter how much you're giving them. They'll always say, "Well, we got a limited dev cycle. We only have so much time, so there's only so much we can do." Which I'm not saying is a lie. Sure. I'm just saying.
But that would be the tagline.
Yeah, so I don't really think it'll pay off like people will think that it will.
And I hear what you can decide, right? Like, because you're a pretty passionate guy, and your morals and your standards matter to you, right? Like, which is a good thing, right? That's why you and I are friends. We're both Christians, and I'm a minister, and so. But when you think about the CFM community, do you think the CFM community as a whole, that a majority would go for look, I don't know if that falls under the microtransactions, because all that stuff kind of makes my brain melt, and I'm way too busy to figure all that out. Would the Madden community as a whole, though, go, yeah, we'll whatever, $4.99, we'll do it?
I don't know. I mean, I think some would. I honestly think some would, because I think some always want to keep holding out this hope that EA will come through for us. After doing this for 7 straight years, I don't have that hope. I have no reason. They've shown me nothing to give me that hope to say, you know what, I think you guys might would. No, I don't buy it. I think some people would be okay with it. I mean, there's clearly been some who in the community who have tried to help push this idea, and I've stood strongly against that, because I still believe once you open that door, it's never getting closed, and it's just going to get worse as you go on, as far as how much you're going to be paying.
No, it's never going to close. That's for sure.
Right. So I just don't want to see the door open. Period.
So let's stay there. Let's talk about the CFM community. We're going to put a bow on this in the next 8 or 9 minutes here. But look, you're pretty active on Twitter. I'm active on Twitter, but mainly just for my leagues. Again, I try to stay as positive as I possibly can, and getting into some of those discussions can get ugly. So I just advertise what you guys are doing, what we're doing, and all the other leagues that are doing. But that's why I try to do this, like to give a voice to hear what guys are thinking out there. Where do you think that the CFM community stands as a whole? and where do you think that the CFM community carries some power to bring the change that we all want to see?
Well, I think it's better as far as a community than it was back, 4 or 5 years ago. Back then, it was just super divisive, and it seemed like most commissioners were only, I don't know, it's like everyone was afraid to talk to each other because for some reason, and I know some commissioners would go into other leagues and join them to steal players and whatnot. But so there was some of that going on, and I think people were really defensive about it because they was afraid that might happen. And I don't think it's as bad now. I've been in the Discord with other commissioners that you talked about, and then there's a group me, a couple of chats that I'm in with other commissioners that, for the most part, are not that bad as like it was. But there's still, and this is just a human pride thing. There's still this whole ego problem. I think a lot of guys have of our league is the best ever, and we're the best, and it's just foolishness. Is what I'm just going to be quite honest. If you feel that about yourself, you're being foolish. I'm not saying you don't have a great league.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw this in there, and I hope that they don't get offended because I like the guys and the little interaction I've had with them, but I don't push for awards. That's not why I do what I do. We've been doing this for 19 years because I like my guys, and I like meeting guys. And look, you've been part of my community that I created 3 years ago. Like, I work really hard just to create a community atmosphere where dudes can, like, talk God, talk politics in a very, like, safe place, but talk gaming, right? And talk life. And, like, we have a real brotherhood in our league, right? In our community and in all the separate leagues. But when we were given some awards that we didn't ask for, that we didn't even know existed, look, you're part of Daddy Leagues. I just help Daddy Leagues. I don't have any say so with what's his name? Crap, help me out.
Pappy.
Pappy. I don't know Pappy. We talk a little bit on Twitter, but I just help. When he tells me he needs my help, I help him do things just because I like the guy, I like his product.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he gave an award. Dude, there was like outlash on Twitter about how dare we win this award, and like that is the part about this community I don't understand. Like we tried to do the round tables and I stopped them because people were wasting my time. They wouldn't show up. They wouldn't answer. People don't answer DMs. I know you're on there. You're posting 75,000 times a day, and like I don't get the competitiveness between leagues and between commissioners. Everybody's got a podcast. That's why I avoided doing this for so long. It's like, I don't want to do another podcast for the sake of doing it. But look, I'm trying to drive some stuff for Daddy Leagues, and we're trying to build our YouTube following for Daddy League. And like, I like connecting with guys like you, right? But I don't get everybody pushing their own agenda, and like their thing has to be the thing, and it's got to represent their league, and they're the best. And like, we don't call the OMFL the best. We're just a thing, and we try to do our thing really well. And our thing is different than NBC's thing, right? Two completely different universes. They're just completely different products. Pick what fits for you, right? And so that's part of the CFM community that's really off-putting for me, and that I try to avoid because I don't get it, right? Like I've talked to some of the Dynasty Leagues, and I've talked to Shop, right? Like me and Shop got connected, and like he was doing all this great stuff, and then poof, gone. Like, won't answer DMs, won't respond to anything. I'm like, what? Like, it blows my mind. Like, I'm just trying to help. I'm a nice dude. I respect people. I'm trying to help you push your stuff. And that's the part of this community that's just mind-blowing to me. I know you've been part of it for longer than I have. Even though we've been doing it for 19 years, we were never on Twitter. We were never, like, part of the movement. We just kind of did our thing over here. And then here in the last 2 years or so, we've done the Twitter thing. We got more involved in the community and more involved in Daddy Leagues and League Crawler, who's another guy that I like and I support. But I just don't get that ugly side of the CFM community. And I think that until that changes, we will never have the power to truly move this game the way that we need to move it. Because it tends to come off as who can get closer to become buddies. Like, I don't know how true this is. I'm just telling you what I've been told. Like, some guys hope and do what they do because they hope that ESPN will make a league like they have out of these competitive Madden guys, and that they'll get a job with ESPN and be on TV. And that's mind-blowing to me. I have no interest in that. Like, I have a real life, and I do, like, other things. I don't do all this so that I can get a job and get paid to do it. And so, like, that's the part that my rant's over, but it blows my mind that that's a thing in the CFM community.
Well, I agree with you, and it's nothing wrong with wanting your league to be the best that it can be.
Yeah,
I think if you're a commissioner, that's what your goal should be.
Yeah,
but it should stop there. It shouldn't be, oh, we're the best league that there is ever, because that would go into the whole argument of, like everyone's having right now, who's better, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe. You can't really put a best of all time on anything. It's just ridiculous. There's a lot of great leagues out there, and that's what should be said. There's a lot of leagues, and that's what's good about the CFM is, like you said, each one has its own personal different things, and that caters to different people's wants, needs, and even their time ability according to their life. So just try to, to me, it's just like, why can't we just each try to do our best and then work together to make things better? But instead,
100% agree.
It ends up being this divisive thing, and even like when Pappy did the DaddyLeagues tournament recently, there was lots of guys who were just throwing rage fits because their guy didn't get in, and Pappy made up his own formula for figuring out their strength of schedule against how many, how much they won by, and in the seasons that they won their Super Bowls. He made his own formula for that, and then that's how he got the names. And then people were just going crazy because we're the best league out there, and our guys also, and it's like, look, there was only a limited amount of spots. There was 32 spots for each console, and there's hundreds of thousands of leagues out there with hundreds of thousands of owners. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, why can't you just enjoy that this is actually being put together at all, and it's a platform that could go forward if it goes well, which I think it went pretty well. So it's that whole ego is what it boils down to human ego, wanting to be the best and wanting to be acknowledged as being the best. And
it's not apples to apples, right? Like, I will be the first to admit that, look, some of the leagues don't have 19 years like we have. I think, I'm not bragging, I just think we are. We're the longest CFM ever. Like, no league that started in 2001 is still going. That doesn't make us the best. It's just, that's my commitment. That's something that me and other guys who've helped me carry this mantle have done. But when it comes to production, when it comes to time and energy, when it comes to like extra stuff, man, Dynasty and Madden Ballas Club, like, those dudes are legit. Like, they're inspiring what they do. I do what I can do. Like, I work many different jobs, and I run many different leagues in this community. And this is what works for us, right? Like, we put an emphasis on brotherhood and on like all these different leagues that we all play in. And it's like that it's a different flavor, right? And I truly just don't think there's a better, best, and all these other words that people use. We're just different flavors, and people in the NBC would be miserable in the OMFL because they're like, why are you guys so slow? We advance every 3 days and sometimes every 2 days, which is really fast for us. But they, guys would be miserable. Whereas my guys would be like, hell, there's no extra content in the NBC. Nobody writes other than you. Nobody writes articles. Like, they play games every 12 hours. Like, I can't keep up, right? Like, it's just different flavors that meet for everybody, right? And I just don't understand why we just can't enjoy just what we all do as a community and the content that's being created. Because, man, when it comes to some of these leagues that we've mentioned here, right, Dynasty, Madden Ballas Club, those are two that come to mind because they do so much great production. Like, no one's doing it like them, and I kudos to them. But God, I pray I don't win an award this year for my league, because I just don't. It's not worth it to me. Like, it's so stupid. It's an imaginary award by an imaginary thing on an imaginary game that we play. It's not that important to me. Like, my guys are going to stay in my league with or without awards. I think the award just speaks to guys acknowledge the energy and the effort that we put into what we do, right? And yeah, I just try to treat guys right. But anyway, off the rant.
I totally agree, man.
Let's quickly, and we're going to put a little bow on this, but if you could give one piece of advice, this is just kind of something I want to do on these podcasts as a long-term commissioner and somebody who does it right. Now, again, your league is a different flair, but if you were just to give one piece of advice to a new commissioner, what would you tell them to do to build up a league?
Well, you got to have a good set of rules that you stick with. And my dog's barking because my family's home. You have to have a good set of rules. You have to stick with them, and you'll have to have some good administrators to help you because you're not going to do it by yourself. And communication is one of the biggest things that I can say. You got to have communication with your owners. Your owners have to communicate with each other. If you don't have good communication with everyone, and everyone doesn't have good communication with each other, it's not going to last. Yeah. But sticking strict to the rules with everyone, being fair and not showing favoritism to your friend because he's in the league and he did something wrong, so you're going to be okay with that. No, you can't do that. You just got to be straight up by the book. Whatever the book you and your admin is right, you got to stick with that and say, all right, you broke this rule. This is your punishment. This is how it goes. And if you can do that and you can just kind of keep things moving along, people love football. It's America's biggest sports. People love it. That's why Madden sells the way it does. It's the only football game out there. People like trying to build teams and like to feel like they're an owner of a team, like they're a coach of a team. So that already handles itself. You just have to handle the other parts of it where you're keeping things fair, you're not showing favoritism, and you're not making ridiculous rules, and you're not letting ridiculous stuff go in the league that wouldn't normally go in the league. Most people who play in CFM don't play head-to-head because they don't like playing against cheese and people who just run 5 plays at work all the time.
Yep.
So as long as you're not
that many.
Yeah. If as long as you're not allowing that in your league, you're pretty much going to probably be okay. So starting up is the hardest thing. I still remember when I started in Madden 12, it was about a month and a half of just really wanting to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
You gotta filter through people who claim that they're sim and they're not. You gotta filter through people who don't want to communicate. But once you get your base of owners that are good and solid there, it'll take care of itself after that, as long as you stay on top of things. So that's my biggest things I would give as advice to anyone wanting to start one up. So.
All right, let's rapid fire a couple little things here, and then we're gonna put a bow on it. Favorite sports?
My favorite sport?
Yep.
It's actually NBA. I've always been a basketball player. I played in elementary, high school. So NBA is actually my favorite sport, and I actually just went to a Cavs Hornets game Wednesday night, which was really awesome.
Favorite sports team?
The Eagles is my favorite sports team, not only because they're my favorite team, but also what came out this year about their faith. They had numerous guys who got saved, and how their faith is actually a strong point of that for the majority of that team, and they're using their platform to further the message of Christ and Him loving everyone, and trying to tear down the walls of what people think Christianity is about and what they think the Bible actually talks about when they're really wrong and they really don't know what it means. So I'm really glad. That it was already my favorite team, but it just makes it even better that these guys were using that as their platform to further that message. So, that's by far my favorite team.
If you could medal in any Olympic sport, what would it be?
I don't know. I mean,
my wife just gave me the no huddle sign. I don't know what that means. I think it means wrap up, but that means no huddle. And then
I guess it had to be basketball. That was basketball was
not. Oh, that's lame. Come on, Pootie T. You got to give me a better answer.
I don't really watch a lot of Olympics, to be honest. So I know that the basketball is one, and I've always been pretty decent at it. So.
Favorite all-time Madden game? Which one made you fall in love with it?
I don't know. I remember playing it back in the day on the computer. I don't remember which Madden it was. You could draw up your own plays and stuff, and then you could test them out. That was really fun. I don't remember what Madden it was though. I know it's been a long time ago.
Madden 01 will always be by far my favorite. First ever online CFM for PC. It was just a blast. Favorite game ever. Favorite all-time Madden player, individual player that you just had to have every Madden.
Michael Vick. Everyone's going to say that.
He was so much fun to play with, wasn't he?
Yeah, it totally changed everything about the game. Just
All right, now I'm going to put you on the spot. One piece of life advice. Share some life advice.
Never take things way too serious. Try to keep a level head. Try to see things from both sides. That's something I think our country lacks a lot. Is most people only want to see things from one side and not really look at the whole picture and not really look at all. Both sides. And I guess coming from a commissioner standpoint, that's something that you learn. It's something that you have to do. You have to be neutral and be able to see both sides to help both sides see ways to work issues out. Something that our country really needs. And actually dropping all the nonsense that you think you know about Jesus Christ and Christianity, and actually diving into the Bible for yourself and asking God for guidance and letting Him show you the truth of how much He loves you. That would be my best advice.
Well, there you go. PDT, thanks for being on the talk from Daddy Leagues. You're my buddy, you're my guy, and I knew that you'd be a good first guest to kind of get this out there. As you guys can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, I do this all on a Mac, so the video's a little sketchy. We'll work on this. We're trying to get it better and better every single time, but the audio should be just fine. Tell people where they can find you, where they can find your league, where they can find information about what you're all about.
Well, I'm on Twitter at PHTYT, and you can find me there. I'm pretty sure I have a link to our league on my profile. It's DaddyLeagues.com/MBC. You can check out, all of our stuff on our website that we have. And then we also are on your community website, our forums and stuff, and a lot of our posts, are on your website. That's grownfolksoc.com. You can go check that out. Lots of great content that you guys, like as you said, mostly you guys, a lot of our guys don't spend time posting stuff, but
every now and then we'll get something.
Yeah, every once in a while, but it's a lot of great stuff there, and that's where you can find us. And we're just trying to keep things going for these guys, and like I said, met a lot of really cool cats like yourself included, and it's one of the things I enjoy the most about it is just meeting people from all over the world and learning about them and their lives, and just talking life. That's good stuff.
Yeah, I got to admit, it's one of my favorite things too. Look, you can follow me on grownfolksoc.com. My personal Twitter is kinda real Nate, but I don't do any Madden stuff. That's kind of my motivational Christianity side of my life. You can follow us on grownfolksoc.com, but most of all, thanks for the sponsor of all this, Daddy Leagues. DaddyLeagues.com. If you have a league, you need to be on Daddy Leagues.
Right.
Check them out. It's super cheap. It's worth it. It is the hub for everything that you're going to do with your league. So make sure that you go check that out. There's some highlights from the recent Daddy Leagues Winter Invitational Tournament, so make sure you go check those out. Lots of new content is being posted from leagues on their website. Give them a follow on Daddy Leagues on Twitter, and then Daddy Leagues on YouTube. We'll make sure we get this posted. Hoodie T, thanks again for spending some of your Friday with us. I'm getting the no huddle sign from the wife, so we got to go ahead and get on out of here. Have a great one, my friend. We'll see you around the corner.
You too, man. Have a happy Easter. Thanks for having me.